Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Red O'Loughlin, and welcome to my USA Global TV and Radio Network audience, and additionally to the E360 TV TV and radio audience. Today we're part 7, most likely 8 parts. I think I can wrap everything up by next week. But let me go ahead and load up my slides to get those ready to roll. There we go. That's the first one. Okay. A little disclaimer about me on the front end. I'm a researcher. I'm not a doctor. Whoops. I think I touched something I shouldn't have. Okay. Never been in the medical field, never been in the pharmaceutical field. My first love, long before I met my wife of 55 years, was chemistry. I got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam. Never got a chance to practice chemistry until literally about 10 years ago. I think February will be 10 years since her surgery. And she recovered quite nicely from everything. But I had a chance to get back to that first passion I had in my life, chemistry. And I was having problems trying to be a caregiver and all of the side effects that were happening from the meds and the drugs and everything. So anyway, I started researching the human body, the cellular level. And I was insistent in looking at what is the cause and effect of each thing that happens along the way. And if I look at a chemical, this chemical reacts with that one. It produces this. If you do this, you can speed it up. If you do this, you slow it down. Anyway, I was very interested in cause and effect analysis. It was part of what I had been doing in my real job long time ago. And if you treat a cause, you can generally fix a problem. If you treat the symptoms, you'll always be treating symptoms. So yeah, you may have to treat symptoms because you don't know what the cause is, but at some point in time, if you can figure out what the cause is, that's great. We've talked about a number of different things. Pain is something that's very individual. People respond differently to the same exact pain issues. Pain is a very complex psychological and physiological experience, and it's a protective mechanism for the body. You know, if we put our hand on top of a hot stove and we don't rip it back in a heartbeat, you know, we can get damage to our hand. And it teaches us that we don't do that. We may do it a second time, but we don't do a third, fourth, and fifth, because that protective mechanism is there to protect or minimize any harm or injury that we might have. Okay, in this particular section that I'll be wrapping up today, I'm looking at my personal perspective on pain. You know, I try to identify the cause, but sometimes, you know, if you have a headache, what's the cause? I don't know. It may be stress. It may be something I ate. It could be a number of other things. But what can be done without drugs? What has worked successfully for me? What's worked successfully for friends and family? There's some times that you really want to say, hey, doctor, I need to talk to you about this. And where that is appropriate, you know, we'll highlight that. I'm going to talk about jaw pain today. And because the jaw is so interrelated with other parts of the body, that is something that's super critical. You know, if you have a headache and it lasts more than a few days and you just can't seem to get it under control, you know, there's some pain that you really and truly do need to go seek professional help on. But your health is your responsibility. It's not something that's your doctor's responsibility. It's yours. In this show here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network and on the E360 TV network, we're looking at awareness, education, and then action, effective action you can take by talking to a professional. Now, we started out with pain hacks, and we talked about all different kinds of pain: back and carpal tunnel and tennis and stomach and headaches and arthritis and leg cramps and hips and sunburn, nausea, all sorts of things, constipation, rash, and mosquitoes. And one of the last couple that we didn't get a chance to talk about was tooth and jaw. So let's just jump into that right away. Tooth pain. Lots of causes, but generally speaking, most of the time when you have a tooth issue, it's due to some kind of inflammation, due to decay, maybe injury, maybe infection. But that tooth thing is something that, yeah, you can feel it. You can bite down on something. Sometimes you bite down on something and all of a sudden you break a filling. It becomes part of something you're eating. It's crunchy and it wasn't before. And now all of a sudden you've exposed part of the tooth to the air that's never seen in a while. So lots of things can be done, especially if it's just a minor inflammation, minor injury. Obviously, you need to get in and get the filling redone, or you need to do something to take care of the infection if that's what it's there. But garlic paste, just crushing up some garlic and putting it in. That's just a matter of garlic and water and just pushing that thing together. Peppermint tea bags is something that works very well. Just wet the thing and put it on. A saltwater rinse, just kind of slosh it back and forth in your mouth. I'd say the same thing with coconut oil. There's a coconut oil that you can just take maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, half of a teaspoon, and then just kind of slur it back and forth. And that's enough to address some of that infected area. Sometimes hot or cold will work. Guava or a lime mouthwash works very well. Clove oil is something that it's a go-to for a lot of people. You can make it at the store and you just literally put a drop wherever that's at, and that kind of moderates the pain very, very quickly. I'm going to mention the word acupressure because we're going to be talking a lot about that as we get into this program today. Jaw. Sometimes it's just one side, sometimes it's both. It could be an injury, it could be blood vessel damage, it could be arthritis, it could be a tension headache, it could be an ear infection, it could be TMJ, temporomandibular joint disorder. A lot of things can cause a jaw issue. And just to keep you aware, if you have something here, it doesn't mean that it's somewhere else is causing the problem. A chest, heart, arm issues can raise up and become a problem in the jaw. A lot of issues between the heart and the head, just like between the gut and the head. There's just too many blood vessels going back and forth, too many things going on. So as you're trying to figure out what's, all of a sudden I got this jaw. Did I lay on it wrong? Did I hit it wrong? What's going on? If you can't figure out what it is, just do a generic tension on it, but pay attention to everything else. Do you have a tightness in your chest? Is there anything going on with your heart? Anyway, a lot of issues there with regard to what's causing a jaw problem. Sometimes a physical relaxation therapy works very, very nicely. Stretching, if it happens to be a muscular kind of problem. Sometimes it's posture. You're bent over the computer, you're doing things, you get that tension in the back of your head, you're pushing down on the jaw. A lot of issues there. It could be a dental care issue, just like we talked a minute ago with the tooth problem. Massage, if it happens to be an arm, shoulder tension, headache kind of thing, maybe a massage is what you need. Acupressure, we're going to be talking about that. You may have to go to softer foods for a while. You may have to go to a mouth guard, something that keeps that part back in alignment. There's a number of issues there that can be a problem. So just to be aware of it. As with any kind of thing, 10 days, I think, is a reasonable time for just about any kind of pain. In 10 days, it's either going to get better, go away. It's going to get worse, and you're going to know that right away, or it's not going to do anything. It's going to be the same. 10 days, see your doctor. I think you can do whatever you're doing with regard to over-the-counter medicines, and you're treating a symptom, whatever that pain is. But if it's not going away with whatever you're doing, go see your doctor. If the pain doesn't let up, it interferes with your life anyway whatsoever. If you can't go to work, if you can't concentrate on what you're doing, if you're having an extra problem driving, dealing with relationships, lots of issues there. Sometimes there's a popping issue, a clicking with regard to the jaw. Sometimes there's pain in the upper and back or shoulders, ringing in the ears, swelling in the jaw area, fever, lots and lots of things. Take note of it. Go see your doctor, especially if it's getting worse. There's too many things that can happen, and the jaw is just one clue to saying, "Hey, doc, I need to talk to you." Okay, let's talk about acupressure, but I'm going to start with acupuncture first. This is traditional Chinese medicine, stimulates energy flow in the body with needles. QI, is the part that we're addressing. And we manipulate certain pressure points in our body, and wherever those may happen to be, the ears, any part of the body, the hands, a lot of pressure points in the hands. And when you manipulate them with needles, and sometimes a needle is connected to a heat, sometimes it's connected to electricity, then what you're trying to do is restore harmony throughout the body. My wife had some shoulder surgery. The rehabilitation didn't work very well at all. We gave her a series of 9 or 10 acupuncture treatments, and about acupuncture treatment number 8, she was about 95, 98% able to move her shoulder in all different directions. So it might be something that if you're not responding well to a normal kind of rehabilitation, talk to your doctor about acupuncture. It wasn't covered in my wife's insurance. I think because it wasn't covered, I ended up paying a very little amount, $40 a session or something, not long ago. But it's something to be aware of. The pressure points are along the meridians in the body. And as this energy flows throughout the body, if you stimulate it with a particular pressure, with a particular needle, whatever, then you're causing something to either erupt or something to subside. And so these different pressure points, they address pain, but they also address other things. Maybe stress, maybe digestive issues, and maybe a number of different things that are included in this overall problem. So when you're looking at a traditional Chinese medicine, this is something I think is very, very valuable. Acupressure, no needles, but you're just doing pressure. So let's say I'm pressing right here on this part of in between my eyes, or I'm doing a very, I take my knuckle and I get the sharpest point of my knuckle and I get it right above the tooth and I press into there. So I'm using an acupressure point and I'm stimulating it with pressure, and I'm doing it myself. I'm doing it for a certain period of time. If somebody's doing it to you, they may be doing it for 30, 60, maybe even 90 seconds. If you're doing it yourself, you may find out that, hey, I'm doing that and I'm doing it for maybe 20 seconds and then letting off, and I'm squeezing again for another 20 seconds. But what you're doing is you're stimulating a pressure point that's going to have some effect on the body. So if you're stimulating these or manipulating, stimulating the same pressure points instead of a needle, you're using pressure, then your ability to relax, your ability to change the perception of pain increases significantly. And it's free. You're doing it yourself. You can go to YouTube. You can see exactly how other people do it. Follow the yellow brick road. It's there. It's available. I would not suggest sticking needles into you. You need a professional for that. But if our acupressure, certainly something super simple to do. Emotional freedom techniques. I like this a lot. EFT is a modern therapeutic technique, and it combines the acupressure points. In other words, I have certain points on my body that I use, but instead of actually putting pressure on them, I'm just tapping. I'm actually hitting them at a certain level, a certain number of times, but it involves the psychological alignment of everything at the same time. So I'm not pushing on something. I certainly could, but I'm tapping on whatever that particular pressure point is. Now, there are a number of them. Not all of them are controlling every single aspect of the body, but I suggest go to YouTube, type in EFT, pain control, pain management, and watch 3 or 4 or 5 different sessions that people do, because they start out by tapping the karate chop part of their hand. They go through a mantra of sorts that they're getting their mental alignment, their emotional everything lined up, and then you start with this little routine that you do and you go through. Now, I find that when I do it, I need a minimum of 8 minutes. If I do it for less than that, I don't get the same level of process. If I do it 5 minutes, yeah, I get something. But if I do it 8, 10, 11 minutes, I find out that if I'm trying to relieve pain, for instance, it works great. If I'm trying to do something else, lower blood pressure, reduce stress, focus. There are so many things that EFT can do. There's been some cases of people losing 100 pounds of weight by nothing but EFT. But the goal is to alleviate for us using EFT something, emotional pain, stress, maybe just to promote emotional and psychological well-being. It works very, very well on immediate pain as well as chronic pain. Let's say you have lower back pain that's been there for decades. If nothing else has worked, it's something you do yourself. It's free. It's in your own house, your privacy. Go to YouTube and take a look at it and just go through the normal routine that you would have. Now, I know that if I have a headache, I can do the little pressure point in my hand, but there's a little point right below my nose at the very top of where my teeth is at. So if I press in there almost to, not where I've kept tears, but I know that I'm pressing, my headaches go on literally in seconds. It just, for whatever reason, that particular pressure point works exceptionally well on headaches. There are other ones in the body that work well also. So let's say you go to YouTube, you type in emotional freedom techniques, and you type in pain, lower back, pain, arm, shoulder, pain, headache, whatever it may happen to be. But you may want to just do EFT for better stress relief, for better focus in what you're doing. There are some days I come out of the gym in the morning and I know I got a really, really busy day. I got almost everything lined up hour by hour. And I'll sit there in the car before I go anywhere, before I turn it on, and I'll do 8 or 10 minutes. And my whole focus is on focusing on getting stuff done today. So anyway, self-care, empowerment, self-control. When you're hitting these different pressure points, wherever they may happen to be, the theory is that we have this pain gate in the back of our neck, up our spine. And these pain signals come up. We talked about this before when we talked about that particular pain gate. And when you stimulate pressure points, you're actually causing a sensory input from these wherever, let's say I'm doing it here in the web of my hand. I'm actually changing the pain receptor to override or inhibit the pain signal that's actually getting into the back of my neck, into my brain. So if I can do that and I manipulate these pressure points, all I'm doing now is I'm releasing endorphins, which are natural painkillers. For those people who do a lot of running, you're out there and all of a sudden you may be out there 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're saying, well, I can do this all day long. Just everything feels so good. And you're basically canceling out anything that's just promoting pain. But you're promoting self-awareness, well-being, just a total overall body, mental, physical relaxation. So the pressure points are things that can be manipulated and they adjust the pain perception is what they're doing. If I'm manipulating, I'm relaxing tense muscles. Let's say that I have muscles here in the back of my neck. I know everything's really tight, and I'm using my thumbs or I'm using my fingers, and maybe I'm going in right below my clavicle and I have a couple pressure points there. Maybe I need to just press on one and work that one out and I go over to the other one, or maybe I'm doing them both at one time with my thumbs. There are a lot of different pressure points on the body. Again, YouTube is a fantastic place to go for that. But when you're doing it, you're stimulating, you're increasing the blood flow, you're getting more oxygen, more nutrients to the affected areas. So if there's something that needs healing because maybe it's a little bit of stress, muscle tension, a little bit of swelling, maybe you need that extra blood, that extra oxygen to get in there so that healing process can be more effective. Your key or your meridian balance. When everything is in perfect alignment, it feels so good. But sometimes things get out of kilter. Heaven only knows. It could be something you ate. something somebody said to you, something you turned wrong way and you twisted yourself. Anyway, when things get disrupted a little bit, that life force energy, it can be readjusted back. And the key is one of the things that allows us to do that. So when a key is blocked, one of the side effects or one of the results is pain. It could also be illness. If something is, let's say you have something going down to your gallbladder, your colon or somewhere else, and that gets blocked, you can actually have pain in that area that can be eliminated, alleviated, mitigated by pressure, stimulating pressure on those pressure points. So if you can figure out, and that's why YouTube is so good, because there's so many different ones. There's about 8 or 9 right here in the hands that are really and truly effective for different kinds of pain. Let's say I have nausea. There may be a pressure point right in my hand that will address that. Maybe for fatigue, there's one's going to redress that. There may be one there in my wrist, another one a little bit further up my arm. Lots of places that have these little pressure points. If okay, I can stimulate that. I do it this particular way. I do it this long. And then I take a look at what actually happens. Sometimes it may be on the ear. There are different pressure points in a number of different places. And so if I'm using my pressure points as my primary source to relieve pain, all I'm doing is I'm changing the level of pain going through my pain gate and kind of downplaying it. A lot of times you can use your feet, reflexology. They're essentially manipulating places on your feet, your hands, your ears that will go in and improve either an organ, a body, a tissue, a muscle group that is causing a pain indirectly, and then by moderating, alleviating that particular indirectness, everything works fine. Acupressure, you have a physical, but you also have a psychological. There are two things that are working back and forth, and when you get this emotional part, that's why emotional freedom technique, EFT, works so well, because you're looking at both the physical part of it, but you're also looking at the mental or the emotional part of this thing, because your brain is what's interpreting the pain, but it's going through the pain gate at the back of your neck and top of your spine, and so you're looking at a psychological, an emotional, and a physical pain that are all coming in. Well, if I can use acupressure and I can relax my body, reduce my stress, basically feel a whole lot better, my well-being is manageable, then I have a certain level of pain reduction that goes with that. Now, sometimes the placebo effect works super well with this thing, because when you have an expectation that this is going to work, let's say that I know if I spend 8 minutes doing this, it's going to work. And I know it works really well. And I used to do a lot of 8, 10, 12 time zone changes. And you get ready to go to bed and you're wide awake, and you can use EFT to readjust your sleep cycle. There are a lot of things that you can do. So I know that it works, that my expectation is there. It's one of those things that I know will, in fact, work very, very, very nicely for me. The USA Global TV and Radio Network has an archive on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in the USA Global TV, select it, go to the playlist. Talking Heads is the show that we're doing here today, but there's about 40 different shows on USA Global TV and Radio Network. My show is under my Talking Heads under Red Laughlin. And we've talked about a number of different topics over time. We've talked about heart health, nutrition. We talked about stress, a lot on toxins. We talked about what happens post-pandemically, what's going on in your life. We talked a lot about brain health. Cancer was a major portion that we talked about, and particularly in looking at the metabolic approach to cancer versus the genetic dysfunction approach. I think the metabolic approach is a far, far better way of going. We talked about fat management, weight management. We talked about artificial intelligence and health. My specialty is longevity. So those are things that you want to go back and see other things that we've done. Again, most of my stuff is on cause and effect analysis at the cellular level in the body from a chemical perspective. It can be found at redolaughlin.com. That's red like the color RED, O'Laughlin spelled OLAUGHLIN.com. My contact information is there. I can help people with writing a book, publishing a book, speaking. I'm an author, publisher. I've had several books out there that are available on my website or also available on Amazon. No matter what you can do, it is a book on the subconscious brain. How do you talk to the part of your body that is in control of 95% of everything you do? If you understand that if you want something or need something, that talks to your conscious brain, which doesn't really control much. But if you're talking about the expectation of something or the intention of something, now you're focusing in on what is really getting through the skull into the brain that can make a decision for you. The Joy of Ageless Health talks about the primary causes of disease at the cellular level. Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging talks about the two primary causes of aging. Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's is about 40 plus articles I've written on Alzheimer's. And the Essential New Author's Guide is how to write and publish your book for free. Thank you.